man Joey is here with us. We got to recap a wild week of football last week. We'll start off with the wildest game that me and him were both at, Lynn Classical and Salem. We talked about how that was going to be the game of the week, and the game sure lived up to the hype. And man, you got to feel bad for Classical because it was right there for them. But man, gutsy performance from Salem, and talking to the coach and the players, it was one of those proving something games because they heard people doubting how good they are.
Well, it was one of the, I hate to use the age-old expression, but if you're a fan of defense, it wasn't the game for you.
No.
But that doesn't mean you can't give respect to the offenses. Obviously, Classical showed off its star power, as did Salem. And despite great games from Vaughn and Fessler and Naskey, the big three, they fell short on a controversial, maybe, touchdown.
It wasn't that controversial.
You're nodding your head.
It wasn't that controversial to me. That was clear cut a touchdown. High school, you gotta have 1 foot. He had 2 feet.
All right. Maybe not so controversial, but in the end, it was with seconds remaining, less than a minute.
Yeah.
So a heartbreaker for Classical. But talking to Coach Vaughn after the game, they're optimistic, and the season's, in a way, it's almost over, but it's far from over, depending on your perspective.
But the game was kind of a positive for Classical ranking-wise, because before that game, they were 19. I checked today, they were 17. So that they can take some good out of that they're dropping their one game out of having that final spot for a postseason game. So all they have to do is they just have to close out. And yeah, I'm sure they watched the film and saw some of the mistakes that they made. I mean, some of the two of the touchdowns, even that last one, busted coverage. There was I think it was in the first half, there was busted coverage. The receiver was wide open down the middle. And even that one, if you watch the replay, the DB stopped running. He slowed down. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. So it was just some mental lapses for them that cost them the game.
Preventable mistakes, they'll be fine. And I don't know. Overall, like you said, I mean, look how much publicity Salem's got from just 6-0 and climbing the power rankings, and Classical was right there with them. It was really whichever team had the ball last was going to win. Unfortunately, it wasn't Classical.
Yeah. But they gave everybody a classic game to remember. So then we go to Kep Academy, who keeps on winning. Well, we're going to say names right after this, but Kep Academy keeps on winning. This isn't normal the way they performed offensively. They had 12 points, and then they got the last touchdown and 18 points. But defensively, they were great. They didn't have a bad game, though. Coach, I spoke to the coach. He said they left some points on the board. They had a touchdown called back, some miscues here and there. But to me, I think it was a well-rounded game for them.
Yeah, I agree. Well-rounded, and sometimes a star player can just come through. Mm-hmm. Chanel had a great week.
Yeah.
And he's a perfect high school player. He can run, he can throw.
Yeah.
So
doing whatever they need for him to do.
Yeah. And Kip's getting ready for that time. It's a busy few weeks coming up for them, and they'll be around. Yeah,
and these are the good types of games they're going to see in the postseason. These close one possession games, and it's just like you just have to make a few more plays than the other team. And this time, defensively, I believe they forced 2 turnovers, and that's all you can ask for. Offensively, they were moving the ball really well. I mean, I'm sure the penalties, the coach didn't like much of the penalties, but he was happy with the win. So
absolutely,
kudos to that. St. Mary's, in preparation to their big game this week against Cardinal Spellman, they handled business. It was a pretty dominant game in that first half. They pretty much handled their business and didn't have one of those letdown games or trap games. Is that the term they use in the NFL?
Is there really anything better than a big win led by some young players?
Yeah.
Because, it shows the future, yet it showed the present.
Yeah.
So St. Mary's, they're doing exactly what they should be doing. They're winning games that they should be winning, and, against the teams that are very challenging, like a Fenwick or something, the youth might show. But St. Mary's, they'll be fine.
Yeah, give a lot of credit to Maxwell and Rowan Merriman. Those guys We've heard their names all season long.
Yeah.
We've heard, especially in their wins, we've heard their names. They've came up with big plays in Spartans' win this year, and they got injuries too. The Spartans got injuries, and those guys are stepping up. So,
I see that from young players all the time, where it's, the first 3 weeks of a season, and they're, say it's a different sport, they got 10 goals or something in soccer, and then when they're younger, naturally, it takes some time, and they might regress a little bit. But Maxwell Parent, really since week 1, 2, has been as consistent as can be.
Definitely. All right, time for some other teams that didn't have a great week. We'll start off Lynn English Thursday in Malden. I know that game, they're looking back at it, and they squandered some opportunities. They had opening drive, they were marching down the field, and I feel like that fumble just took all the energy out of them, because offensively they weren't the same until like about the third or fourth quarter, because they weren't doing nothing after that first drive.
Yeah, they were in the game, and then it came down to the final play, right? And just didn't go their way. It was a jump ball, so to speak, but it's time to not worry and just look at the next week and try to win out, and they have a winnable game this week.
I just feel like that's been a microcosm of their season. You had games where it's just like right there, but you shoot yourself in the foot too many times. A little offensively too slow, offensively not getting things going at a pace you want to get it, and then when you finally do get it going, it's too late. And then even on that last play, I think the quarterback rushed that pass, because if he had more time than he thought he did. So I think he threw a little too fast, but he had more time than he thought he did, and the receiver had some separation. So if he just took another second to not throw off his back foot, you might get a touchdown on that play, because he was open.
And like most teams, there are a very select few teams now who have Super Bowl aspirations, right? So like a lot of teams, English, I think, just use the rest of the season wisely. Work on the little things and improve, and look ahead to next year, and have fun.
Yeah.
Try to see what you can do.
Yeah, just try to set something up for the Thanksgiving showdown. That's it.
Which I think is going to be closer than some people think.
Oh yeah, throw them records away.
Yeah, anything can happen on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, definitely. And then lastly, Lynn Tech. Man, this is another one. Lynn Tech. They probably watched that film, and they're gonna see that they had they had numerous opportunities in this game to put points. Right before the half, they were on the goal line, didn't get a touchdown. I think they were on the goal line again, threw an interception. They tied the game up at 7. You give up a big kick return. 2 plays later, Low Catholic scores. You have a chance to tie it, throw an interception instead of going with a short pass to the receiver that's open in the flat. Tries to throw it to another receiver and overthrows it, and that's how it was. So it's just, I said this before, but shooting yourself in the foot.
Well, it's hard because, Low Catholic has that trick play.
Yeah.
And the Crusaders convert on that right before the half. And runners, he said it simply, we wish we had it back, but we can't go back. There's no do-overs. And at the end of the day, they had a great touchdown, man, from Ortega. Yeah. He threw it down the left sideline. It was a pinpoint pass. So there are positives to take away, and it was Low Catholic's first win. Yeah. And James Runner, the head coach of Tech, was, he gave them credit. But at the end of the day, it was just not Tech's day.
Yeah, and speaking with head coach Kavanaugh of Lowell Catholic, he said they've been in all the games they've played this year. It just came down fourth quarters. They just couldn't finish in the fourth quarters, or they have leads going into the fourth quarter and give it up, so this was the first time.
Runner said they were the best 0-5 team that they had to play, and that they could play. And I think the week before, Kip was losing to them at halftime. Yeah. So, not the end of the world.
I think they were down going into the fourth, 22-6 or something like that. Going into
absolutely. And Coach Runner added that he wishes his offensive line was a little more effective in that game. And he wished he had the kickback and the touchdown right before the half.
Yeah, that one. That touchdown right before the half, that was the killer, because they were right there, and then they had penalties and stuff like that. So it's always the little things in football that get you. Always.
And can I just say something? Yeah. I thought there was so much class on display from the Tigers that day, and some people, might say, you don't need to report this, it's not newsworthy, but it's nice to add. Yeah. Just before the game, Runner and the team shake hands with members of the band, and then after, very supportive, and I like that stuff.
Yeah.
And they all say thank you to the crowd after the game. I'm a sucker for that stuff, so well done from Tech.
Those are stuff that needs to be reported. Who says that doesn't? They out there,
Yeah.
Yeah, because if those kids were doing something else that wasn't so positive, people would be the first to try to put it everywhere. So,
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Absolutely.
Where we at this week?
I am at Lynn Tech's game, and then I will actually be at Catholic Memorial for St. John's Prep Saturday, but the Revere at Classical game will be covered by a former Item sports editor. I won't say who, but if you're a fan of the Item, you'll be happy with the Classical game story.
All right, you'll see me at the Prep as well. I'll be there. It's supposed to rain that day too, so it's gonna be a rainy day. But I'll have my rain gear for the camera, and I'll be amongst the people. We'll see y'all there.
It'd be a short segment next week if there are only a few games.
We'll see y'all next week.